joining us either virtually or in person. We do have a few souls in the audience. Thank you. And Jackie, we go full on live the next meeting, or?
From what I understand, the village plans on allowing hybrid going forward. So the boards will be in person with the ability for applicants and participate.
Okay, great. So obviously, applicants and people who might be viewing this and who will be coming before us, you can use your discretion and whatever makes you comfortable. Okay, so tonight is Monday, the 28th, and this is the Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation. We have to my left, Peter DeWitt, Sarah Latham, John Gregory, and joining us virtually is Mark McIntyre. So that constitutes a full board and a quorum. Do I have a motion to open the meeting?
A motion to open the meeting.
Sounds good. Second by John Gregory, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Also joining us tonight, yes? Thank you. Our counsel, legal counsel, Alice Cooley, our recording secretary, Jackie Allen, and our videographer, Kat Skylight. First order of business are the minutes from March 14th. I assume everybody's read them, and if there are no comments beyond what was submitted, then I would move that we accept into the record the minutes from June 14th, second by John, all in favor. Aye. So, okay. So we have no written decisions this evening. If you recall at the last meeting, we had some carryovers in that we closed some applications for written comment to be voted on this evening. So we moved those up to the front of each topic. So each section. So the first one is public hearings in the historic district. And that's the application of Brookside Enterprises of 276 Hill Street to construct a pool. Again, it was held over for any written comments. Jackie, were there any comments submitted?
Mr. Chairman, we did actually prepare a written decision on this, if the board wanted to vote to close the public record on this, and if the written decision was in order, you could simultaneously adopt that tonight.
Okay, so everybody had a chance to read that. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, then I move that we accept council's written decision at 276 Hill Street. I don't think it's necessary to read it. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, it was just for the construction of a pool house and pergola.
Right, exactly. So do I have a motion to accept the written decision? Okay, don't move too far. You need it tonight. Anyway, we need a second. John Gregory, all in favor? Aye. Okay. There you go. Thank you, Mark. Jack, do you want me to sign that now, or we should keep going and roll?
Up to you.
Yeah, we'll go on a roll. Okay. All right. The second application is that Taste Bake Shop, which we adjourned so that they could submit a additional landscape plan. And if the applicant is here, either virtually or here in person, then let us know. So I don't see any hands in the audience here. Any hands in?
Actually, you can
In the
see
ether.
tonight, and there are no hands up. Oh, one just went up.
Okay.
So we'll bring this person in.
Yeah, I was Kevin. It's
Oh,
you're assuming we're.
I'm so
visual
sorry.
than we
There are
have.
words and letters I see.
Unless that's screen voice as
oh
well.
shoot. Let me try again. Oh, we're not coming in.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I forgot to introduce Alex Wallach, our planning director.
Okay, Jessica, you're in. If you could unmute and start your camera. Okay. Let me
Big
send you-
reveal.
Let me send you the camera link.
Start my video. Okay.
There you go.
Okay,
Hi.
Jessica, tell us who you are, who you represent, and where you're based.
Hi, I'm Jessica Edge. I'm a landscape designer. I work for Gardens by Rami. Rami Sloan is also here in the background. We were hired as the landscape designers for Tate to renovate the gardens at Tate's. And so this is our plan that we submitted to them, and just subject your approval.
So do you have, can you share your screen unless Kat, you want to do it? No. Jessica, do you have the drawings digitally?
I could, hold on.
The
I
public?
was not prepared for that option, but I can do that pretty quickly.
I'm sorry, there are no grades, so you're not gonna.
It feels like that.
If you need, I can also show the.
This is my first rodeo, so here we go.
You want me to help you share screen?
No, I'm just looking, I need to get the files first, so let me do that. So I don't have something embarrassing like cat videos.
Table.
The table?
We are. Oh, this is wonderful.
I love a good cat. I love a good cat video.
Actually, here we'd probably have a lot of dog videos.
This one. Yeah.
Fine, all right, Tate's, there it is.
So we're able to show them on the camera, on the table, and so I think you're off the hook.
You are off the hook. Just give me 2 seconds here.
So the plan, I mean, I guess we can go through the plan
Jessica,
first.
just hold on 1 second, okay?
Oh, yeah, there we go. Okay.
Kat is like, out on
Yeah,
the table.
This
Okay,
is my screen. I'm happy to flip through it if that's helpful.
Oh, that's
Okay.
awesome. That would be great. Yeah. So basically, we're not talking about a huge amount of, we're not changing the configuration of anything. We're using the existing beds that are there. And it's just that a lot of the plant material is currently kind of overgrown, and really some of the plant material is just too mature for the size of the beds. So anyway, those are the 2 beds. It's pretty much the one that runs along the side of the actual shop. And then on the opposite side of the parking in front of their, I guess, storage building. That's what I called it, was the storage building. But so essentially then, it's really just those 2 strips of landscape that we were talking about. So really it's more descriptive in the rest of the presentation, because the plan doesn't, so this is the first bed in front, and so there's a lot of existing forsythia, and there's the boxwood. We want to keep the boxwood and the structure of that sort of English garden formality, but we just really want to reduce the size of a lot of that plant material and put in more scale appropriate plant material, and really create a nice cottage garden. So the next slide will show kind of what we're proposing, which, so lots of keeping with the boxwoods and just kind of anchoring the corners, get in some really robust roses in there, some beautiful climbers on the sign, and then some real cottage perennials that will follow through the season, and with big blooms like dahlias, and just a lot more color and a lot more interest than what's currently happening there. And then that sort of being this is sort of our list of plant material, sort of your typical really good garden performers, and most of them are sort of easy to keep up with. And so then the existing storage shed is pretty overgrown, and there's 2 trees in particular that are really out of scale for that place, for that particular area. And what we'd like to do is some of the hydrangeas that are in there we'd like to reuse, and possibly some of the boxwood. Some of them are in good shape, some of them not so great. So but most of it would just come out and then just do a really clean row of hydrangeas and some maybe climbing hydrangeas on the building. And then on the side, do a couple of osmanthus evergreens to screen the utilities that are on the side of the building there. And then, you know, add some seasonals for interest. And that's kind of it. I mean, it's really just to clean it up and really, you know, just create just much more of a charming thing that's there now. So, and that's
great. Thank you, Jessica.
Sure.
I ask the board members, do you have any comments?
Looks beautiful.
Yep.
It's fine to me.
Yep. All right, Mark, you good?
I'm good. We had already approved the front door and the architecture for this, and this was additional, or is all in the same approval?
It'll be all part of the same written decision. So the vote tonight would be to close the written decision.
Okay.
Okay, so unless there's any public comment, Kat, nobody in,
Looks beautiful.
okay, yes. it
There are
does.
no hands up.
Okay, I move that we, accept, well, that we move this to written decision for Taste of Bake Shop. Second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you, Jessica.
thank you. That was easy.
Yep.
No
Yeah, we
problem.
get that all the time.
Okay, the next application, and by the way, subtrust A and B, applicant request an adjournment to April 11th. I move that we accept the applicant's request. A second on that, please. Second by Sarah, all in favor? Aye. Great, okay. So that's, okay, post crossing, it's a standing adjournment pending the ZBA approval. No need to make a motion on that. Next application is that Searsucker One LLC, 365 South Main Street, a one-story addition attached to yard and exterior alterations. We have applicant here for one.
Yes, I have hands up. I can't do it all. I'm trying.
You're always tasting them.
Yeah.
So, okay, so whoever's speaking for the applicant, introduce yourself, and then before we begin, I just want to just catch us up on where we are. So,
Hello, everyone. Should I go ahead and get started?
now, David, are you here for that as well?
Yes.
Okay,
David Gilmartin, doing the controller for the applicant, and Stephen Chrisman, who's the architect, will present the project. We've had some changes since your last meeting,
okay.
and Stephen will run through on this.
Right. Now, before we do that, have each of you gentlemen, and has the group had a chance to read the
We have.
historical? Okay. So, and that what you're presenting tonight will reflect your attempt to accommodate that?
Yes.
Okay. Board members, have you all read that, and is it necessary to read any portion of it here, do you think? Or we'll just hear the application and then read from Sally's report as necessary? What do you think? Okay, we'll do it that way. So David, the floor is yours.
And then I'll turn our presentation over to Stephen Chrisman.
Okay,
You don't want to get.
Thank you, everyone. So I'm Stephen Chrisman. I'll be representing the applicant from Ferguson Schmalming Architects. I also have Connor Moran from our office. We have David Gilmartin, who's already spoke. We have Perry Guillot, our landscape architect, and also from our general contractor, Wright & Co., we have Jeff Payne and Scott McMahon. Great, we can share our screen. So I'd like to present our project tonight in light of the comments that have been made by Sally Spanberg in her report regarding the preservation of the existing house. The intention of our project is to bring back the building to its architectural character of its time period. I'd like to start with just to remind us of the photo from the street. Quick recap to the site. On the right-hand photo there, the east facade, which faces South Main Street, is about 250 feet from South Main Street, from the public right-of-way. I also want to make note too that Ms. Spanberg's report, the east facing street facade facing South Main Street was constructed between 1938 and 1954, according to her report. But we understand the building is noted as a contributing structure in the Southampton Village Historic District. Let's start to look at our revised elevations. And I'd like to point out the updates that we've made to our drawings following Ms. Spanberg's report. So number one, the roof shingles, we've confirmed that the existing shingles are asphalt, so we'd like to replace those with wood shingles. Two, we've added back a window on the first floor. You can see in the cursor there to the right of the front door. We've added that back as a subtle asymmetrical architectural character of the existing building. And number three, we've changed the exposed base of the building to be parge on masonry, which matches the existing. And as I noted before, our intent is to bring back the east facade to a more historically correct of the time period that relates better to the more historical facades on the rear and the sides of the building. And we propose to do this with the following manner. I'll start at the top. We'd like to remove the existing skylight that's over the center front door and replace it with an elliptical eyebrow dormer that alludes to the elliptical eyebrow fan lights on the rear of the building. Two, we'd like to remove two second floor windows near the center to create paired windows rather than more modern ribbon windows. And you can see that in our proposed elevation. We'd also like to remove the inserted French doors in the center on the second floor. And we think this was an addition made as part of an addition made in the 60s or the 70s. And we'd also like to replace the existing front porch, which is clearly not historic. Let's look at the photo of the more detail of the front porch when I speak about this. Thank you. So the front porch, in our eyes, the moldings are not historical. The elements such as the properly proportioned square columns are absent. The entablature is missing a proper architrave frieze and cornice. We compare that to what's on the cornice of the building, which is a very nice Greek Revival type of cornice, a historical element. So let's go back to the rendered elevation. Our proposal for the porch is to be a simpler and smaller porch that is correctly proportioned wood Greek Revival columns, similar to other buildings in Southampton, such as the Shinnecock Hills Clubhouse, with a simple and proper entablature. The proposed front door and side lights and the transom is much more in keeping with historical precedent as compared with the more modern existing example, which we estimate was part of construction during the 60s and 70s. We can compare that to the upper view with the half-round transom that is larger than the door below, and it clearly feels out of place to our eyes. And then regarding the windows themselves, we are proposing to replace the windows with new wood windows that are historically matching the sizes and the details of the windows in terms of their size, dimensions, and their historical proportions. While the second floor windows would be replaced in the same 6/6 configuration, we would like to replace the first floor windows also with a similar 6/6 configuration. And the reason we're doing this is that it results in a much better light proportion that is more similar to windows around the entire building. The current 8/8 windows on the first floor have a very skinny and tall light proportion that seems to be really unique to just this elevation. Regarding the existing wall shingles, as referenced in Ms. Spanberg's report, we've asked our general contractors from Wright & Co., Jeff Payne and Scott McMahon, to take a look at the existing shingles. Their discoveries show that the shingles are not original and are at least a second generation, and it looks to be probably at the end of their useful life. And our proposal is to replace the wall shingles in kind, noting the same 5.5 to 6 inch exposure. And then lastly, on the proposed new addition, we have removed the shutters from the new wing. And this was from comments based on our first original presentation that we had made. So thank you very much. And I welcome any questions or comments regarding our proposal. Thank you.
Sarah, let me turn it over to you to kick it off, okay? If that's okay with you, otherwise.
Sure. One question that I have is the actual height of the pargeted area and the fact that there was a suggestion to have a combination of parged brick. Particularly on the west elevation, which is probably the most intact. And the reason why I raised the question is that if it's if the original use was a carriage house, I just want to make certain that it's not jacked up so high that it doesn't look like an original carriage house.
Right. Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. We would be keeping that exact same floor level of the existing building and the same exposure that's currently there, that's in Parge, we would be maintaining with our new foundation. So I think from the exterior, there shouldn't actually be any visual changes from what is currently there on all of the elevations.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
John? Okay. Peter?
That's great.
Okay. Mark?
I'm good. Looks good.
My only other question is echoing Sally's question, which is it going to still be gutted? Are any sections worthy of adapting?
Are you in terms of the interiors?
Yeah, and that's just a question because it was raised by our historic consultant. You know, why is it necessary to gut totally?
Yeah, we are renovating the interior. The large great room is going to be in a very similar configuration to what it is today. But we also understand that the ARB might not have comments on the interior, so we're just.
It's not so much, we don't have purview, you're right. But comments are
Sure.
are fine. Take it as a comment. For instance, there's a barn that we're looking at in another location, and part of the drafting was to, as much as possible, to keep the interior. We don't have purview to approve or disapprove on that basis. On the other hand, to the extent that we as a board charged with historic preservation can suggest, at least bring it to your attention.
And I think that in both of these instances, with a 19th century barn and the rapid attrition rate of outbuildings on historic sites such as carriage houses, it's a point that we raised from a oh golly, before it's gone standpoint. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. No, we appreciate that. Our understanding is that it's been converted into a house some time ago, as late as in the 50s, and between 1938 and 1950s, it was converted into a house. So it hasn't been a carriage house for a long time, but I think we do hope to preserve architectural character. There's a lot of nice beadboard in the interior that we would like. The idea that the beadboard could be maintained, those kinds of things, or replaced in kind, so that the architectural character could be very similar to what's there today.
Okay. All right. Is there any public comment? Yeah.
Hang on. Okay, there. I don't see any hands up.
Okay. Again, as this is in the historic district, we will move to close it to written decision. So I make that motion. Do I have a second on that? Second by John Gregory. All in favor? Aye. Okay, Alice, you have enough information?
Maybe too much.
Too much? Okay. Written decision. Okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
Gentlemen and applicants, thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
You too, David. Take care. Okay, next, 39 Lewis Street, exterior alterations. Anybody here for that?
They are,
They are.
yes, I'm just waiting for the computer to respond.
And Jackie, you said there were some latest additions on this, which were, that didn't make it into the packet or something?
That was the last hearing, that's that you should
have
have
received
everything.
Okay, great. What do you have? What's the one?
An elevation.
I have an elevation, that's it.
Right, from the
Actually,
14th.
Hello?
Hi,
Okay, great.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just having some trouble getting, okay.
there you go, you're here.
All right, here we are.
Introduce themselves and
Sure. Anthony Vermandois, 68 Union Street. I am the architect for 39 Lewis Street. And I would like to screen share if I could.
okay.
Alrighty.
If you need instruction, let me know, if not, I'll wait.
Let me
And you don't.
see here.
Okay.
All right, can you folks see my screen here with the elevations?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. All right. So I'm going to focus right now for starting on the front elevation. Based on our discussion yet at the last meeting, what you'll see that we've done here is we've kept the irregular spacing of the porch posts, as part of the historic character of the structure, and then the new windows, which are basically just replace the existing existing storm panels in the porch, but now it will make the porch be fully enclosed, but basically the same pattern of window light cuts and whatnot. Some of the windows would be operable, some would just be fixed panes. So that is the porch. And I think that the last meeting, there was a question of what the floor plan would be behind this wall. So just to kind of show you what our thoughts are right now with that. Let's see here, where am I? Okay. You should now be seeing, sorry. Okay, you should now be seeing the first floor plan.
I think it's the first floor, storage, mechanical, great room, sitting room.
Yeah, I'm having a
Okay.
little trouble with my cursor here, moving this over. So see if I can get this a little bit better here. See if I can move you guys out of the way. There we go. Okay, so you can see here, here's the enclosed porch. And what we're doing behind it is the bedroom will basically, there's some existing windows here which are going to stay. So this will just be like the original outside wall. Then opening this up in the middle here, where there's currently that big bay window. This will become the new entrance hall. Front door, staircase is still in its existing location. What we do want to do is just sort of try to keep that definition of the original front wall of the house running across here, even though it's being subsumed into the heated space of the structure. And then this space here becomes a dining room. We're going to need for structure here, we're going to need a dropped header across that, which will be dressed up as like a decorative beam, to make a sort of coffering system. But that's basically it. I mean, that's basically how we're planning on incorporating the porch into the heated space of the house. And I'm going to go back to the elevation. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble with my cursor for some reason. Here's the side elevation. You know, once again, showing that porch enclosed. And then I think one other comment was to keep the existing side entrance and the existing overhang. So we're going to keep that and just replace the door, which is the door itself, which is not original. Okay,
Can you show us the west elevation?
sure.
Thank you.
The rear elevation, in other words.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the rear elevation.
Okay. And can you tell me what the square footage is of the deck that's on the right-hand side?
This little deck here.
Yep.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that question, but I can tell you if you can just bear with me for a second.
Great, thank you.
It's approximately 120 square feet,
And the dimension is what?
about 10 by 10 by 10.
10 by 10, so it's 10 by 10, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question on the porch itself. Is your intent to remove an existing wall from the original structure?
To partially remove it, yes. And
And it cannot be, could be reversed. I think that's kind of flies in the face of our typical standard for historic renovation, that you're essentially taking the porch aside, the original structure with that exterior wall, you're altering that in a way that could not be reversed. And for me, that's an issue.
I'm also concerned that apparently none of us has this set, and I think we can go through on it. You can go through with your presentation on an advisory process, but I don't feel that I've had ample time to look at this for a vote. We've just been handed these.
Yeah.
I would also like to concur with John Gregory. When we talked about our historic preservation philosophy, everyone was, I thought, in agreement that 1915 was the date, and the comment came back that, oh yes, but in 1915 it was a 3-family house. Well, so what? I mean, we're not there to say, oh golly, that's not convenient. And even I looked again on site and actually walked into the porch on site. And although that doorway on the southernmost aspect of the porch is not original, it's my thought that the actual opening should be maintained rather than obliterate that whole wall. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that from my understanding, the only thing we agreed to was the removal of that bay and a return to the original door that was part of the original structure. Right?
And I understand that there are concerns as far as narrowness and this and that, but I think in our attempt to preserve the proto-modern aspect on the porch with these storm windows, we've I can use that old hackneyed expression, we've thrown out the baby with the bathwater, and we're now going to lose the exterior wall in a process of saving the porch. So
Well, it's no longer a porch.
it's no longer a porch. It's now a totally winterized and summerized interior space. So those are my concerns, which are very definitely concerns. And I would also say that, I don't know if I certainly don't approve of the removal of entire walls. And because once you've done it, as John Gregory said, that can't be recreated or shouldn't be. It existed from 1914.
Not a historic house that would be completely finished, but. not the case.
Yeah, okay, so on the northern end of the porch, you're gonna keep the paired windows and the wall, the inner wall, former exterior wall intact. And I guess on the southern end, I think I would agree with Sarah and John that we keep that wall, but remove the door and side lights and just make a large opening. In the middle, I don't have a problem with those columns. Do you really need them though? I mean, again, perhaps an interior I shouldn't comment, but it just chops the room in half. Can't help putting my architect brain to work. But perhaps that is not germane. The only other comment I have is that you seem to change the portion of the lights on the porch. There were essentially, 4 lights per unit. And I know why you did it. You made it 6 lights per unit. And I know why you did it because one of the existing storm windows is actually, a light and a half. I love that sort of accidental happenstance. To me, it shows what happened in 1915. It didn't quite work out, but they found a way. And I like that bit of authenticity, and would encourage you to go back to the proportion of the lights that you originally had. That are there now, rather. The other thing is the second floor windows in the gambrel. They're flanked by not straight courses of shingle, but by an up and down shingle pattern. I know it's very subtle, but it does kind of reinforce that horizontal, proto-modern thing that just kind of happened. It makes that more of a band and less of punch windows in a full wall. You know what I'm talking about? That up and down coursing.
Yes, I mean the intent is to keep that, yeah, or
Okay.
replicate it. Yes, it's a little hard to express it in a in a 2D drawing, but yeah.
I understand, of course, I get that completely.
But it should be called out so that as a record.
All right, we can add a label about that, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And that's what I have to say.
Mark?
Make sure. Good, I'm not muted. I think from the outside, it looks good. I think I share the concern that right now, when you look through those glass panels, what you see is a porch. And from what I'm understanding is when I looked at those glass panels, what is porch is no longer a porch, except for on the right-hand 2 sets of windows that in front of the bedroom, there will be a wall behind it. So it's defined as a porch. Whereas the rest of the front house, the entire thing is defined as house. So I've lost the dimensionality of the original wall.
From a historical standpoint, does the wall have to, the interior wall that makes it a porch, does that have to remain solid, or could they put in, let's say, French doors or?
It could be an opening, sure.
It can be an opening, but considering the age and the agreed upon date, you keep the opening so that, and the actual wall on either side of it on the west.
Right.
So that could be converted. I mean, that could be open as far as glazing patterns.
Or just open, but it's an opening.
Or open, but because the door itself, we really looked at it, is
No,
not.
the door, on the south side, that wall can have a door or pocket door internally, or must it remain solid from an historic?
No, I think there's an existing opening there that's got some non-historic side light and door.
I got you, okay.
So I suggested that they just remove those door and side lights and maintain the opening.
So the original opening is appreciated, documented, and that, 50 years, 10 years hence, when somebody says, oh my God, what were they thinking? And they find a drawing of what that
Can
Oh,
be
it
reversed.
looks like they can revert.
Yeah, and I think that's a good compromise with the center open, is that, you know, I think it makes sense.
But I do think that we should be given the opportunity to really chew more on these since I didn't have access to this. This wasn't in my packet. Was it in your packet?
No. So, Anthony, so the board has raised issues which we'd like you to consider. At the same time, the board would like to have some time to look at these plans. I'm not sure if it will change that which was said. But there's obviously some direction that's been provided to you. So you think it would make sense to charge Anthony with coming back with a drawing that reflects the comments?
Yes, above all, the imbrication or the step section on the coal down, as we talked about, on the shingles, and reflecting Peter's, and I think everyone's in agreement, the idiosyncratic manner in which the original windows or the storm windows are reflected, the divisions, and how they line up.
Okay, can I ask a few questions here?
Well, of course, Anthony, but by all means, and we'll also ask for public comment too. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, first of all, I just want to talk a little bit about the pane configuration of the porch. I mean, I'm just looking here, I'm looking at my elevation and off screen here, I'm literally looking at a photograph of that facade. So, I mean, this is, you know, currently this is 5 panes. We're proposing 5. This bay is 4 panes. We're proposing 4 panes. We've got the front door here. That's a little bit different right now. It's just a screen door basically. 5 panes here, 5 panes existing, 5, 5. 6 here, 6 proposed, 3 here, 3 proposed. The only place where it gets maybe a little bit different, which I think somebody was referencing this, is this window actually gets kind of clipped by this column a little bit. So it's like overlapping that third pane.
Yes.
I mean, you know, we could figure out some detail to preserve that, I suppose, if that's important to keep. But, you know, the intent here is to keep this same layout of window lights as there is there now. I think the other thing I just want to look at here is just this the floor plan. So I just want to understand, I think what the board is having some issues with is specifically this opening here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So if you were to, you know, if I'm just going to measure this exactly from my as-built drawings, if you were to measure that existing non-original door that's there now, that is 6 feet wide. So, you know, if you just literally remove that door that's there now and just made it into a cased opening or something like that, there would be a 6-foot opening here. You know, so our only thing we were proposing was to make that opening a bit wider. But, you know, I mean, certainly we wouldn't want to go less than 6 feet here wide. You know, and there's, you know, not really any way of telling what was there originally, if it was a window or a door or something that got replaced over time. So whatever was there, I mean, you know, it's no longer exists. Excuse me. Then for here, you know, whether or not we have these columns, you know, it was just more of an interior design idea. Didn't really think that was something that was going to come up with for the exterior for the ARB. But you know, we could probably make this just an opening rather than having the columns, if that's an issue. So
I think what the one John Gregory did point out, the fact that there are pictures that give you reference as to what it was originally. And what the board is saying is that they wish to preserve the porch aspect of it. So the opening, whether it's 6 feet, 7 feet, or 8 feet, when you come back, I think we'll be able to judge. But to the extent that you take into consideration what the board is saying, which is that at the end result should be that there's a porch and not a room.
Can I ask a picture, a photo of the house? I wondered if you could.
Let me try. You send it to SHV video now?
No, there's a Southampton Village.
Oh, I can't get those.
Oh, SH video now, okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Well, it truth be known, as a dyed-in-the-wool preservationist, I also have trouble with the removal of the bay.
Yeah, no, I know it's attractive. We sort of come to the point of recognizing that to the extent that there are some compromises along the line.
Yeah, I understand that.
They,
I understand it, but I just think we gotta make it useful.
Well, I mean, one thing I want to say is just to kind of put this in perspective. You recall that when we first presented this project to the board, we had originally proposed to just open, keep the bay and open the porch up completely, removing the storm panels. And I think that the board kind of, maybe we misunderstood, but I thought we were kind of going in a different direction here, where the compromise being that the board preferred to see this enclosed porch rather than a porch that was open to the air, but we would at least be able to make it so that it was more useful, as space, because right now the porch as it is now, it's not really it's just not really a usable space.
I agree with you, Anthony.
That's your picture, Peters.
Okay, and I just, this picture of what exists, I just wanted to make clear the fenestration, the light proportions of the windows and how we very much want to preserve that. Even though there are occasions where, half the light gets chopped off. Okay. I don't have any more, thanks.
any other comments?
There's no hands up in the public.
Well, I'd like to ask a few questions.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, hi, everybody. I'm the homeowner. So on the right-hand side of the porch, where we were essentially keeping the existing wall between that bedroom and the porch, it sounds like we're okay. Sounds like it's the dining room side of the porch where there's some concern. And as Anthony mentioned, there's a door there. You've also required us to keep the side door from the driveway, which really is not a functional door, because I really don't intend on taking out garbage or having people walk in the side of the house from the driveway. So I guess, we're sort of creating a room in that dining room that's going to, sort of have a mess of openings. And I'm a bit surprised, because what I thought was, frankly, the front of the house is old. The windows are old. You guys probably saw it firsthand. And I think by going with the 1915 structure, albeit a one family versus a three family, kind of the idea was to update that part of the house to make sure that, it'll last another 100 years. Because in its current state, it ain't lasting another 100 years. And so it's kind of rendering, with keeping that side door on the side of the house, and now more or less requiring me to keep a porch, whether it's, now it doesn't sound like you even want me to have a heated porch. It sounds like you almost want me to keep the exterior windows on the porch, because what's the point of replacing them? Because then it's not part of the house. So it's a little bit of mixed signals for me One of the reasons I wanted that dining room to be the size that it is and the focus being in that left-hand area is because I want to have, family dinners and I want to sort of have a nice broad place. That dining room was pretty small. And when the idea came up from the ARB about subsuming the porch into the house, I started saying, it'd be nice to have a sort of formal dining room. And it certainly, from the exterior, will be far prettier to look into a formal dining room with a beautiful vertical table than it will be to look at, well, what's there now, which is a door behind the glass, or it certainly would be a lot nicer than looking at the existing glass, which is, pretty useless in that room, as I said to everybody, is kind of like a sauna, notwithstanding that people think that there's a breeze in there. When I was in there in July, August, and there was no breeze in there. So I want, of course, have a compromise with the board that reflects the historical integrity, make you all happy. But part of this is also the functionality of the home itself for me. And the sitting room in the front with the bay, right in the middle of the house, where I think the first front door used to be in 1901 or whatever. That's a really unfunctional room. You walk in the house, there's a stairs which we can't move dead in front of you. Neither Anthony or I can figure out what to do with that front room. We call it a sitting room. No one's going to sit there. It's just sort of a room. But the dining room is intended to be pretty functional and very pretty, right? And in keeping with an old house, and there's going to be sort of this mess of doors. And is it a porch? Is it not a porch? I venture to say that dining room is really the thrust of the application. What we do with the middle room, with the bay, that's sort of less important to me. The right, we already agreed to keep that as a porch, which I think is perfect. You sort of walk in, to the right is the porch area where if you have wet shoes on, you put it so you don't track up the whole house, right? It'd be nice, put things in there and keep it. It's a nice little area. But the far left, the dining room, which a lot of people, when you come over to someone's house and you have a nice dinner, that's the room that I'm concerned about with these comments. And I can't follow all the, maybe we use the existing opening with the walls coming in a little bit, and but that really is part of that. I've really enjoyed this process because you guys have taken a really hard look about the functionality of the house, the historic importance of the house, and it's great. And I really like it. But I also want to have a house that's, really pretty. And there's nothing pretty about that porch. And I really don't want to be put in a position of keeping in any way those front windows on the house because, they're extraordinarily dated and it's free, and it's freezing in the winter on the porch and it's hot as hell in the summer on the porch. So it's really not a functional use of the house. So I understand your job is to balance at all times the architectural importance versus, versus of course the functionality of what crazy people want to do to crazy houses. I just ask you to work with us, especially on the dining room area, because as my kids get older, that's where I see us being able to, sit down and have, important meals at the house. So that's all I ask, because I think that's
I think
important.
Yeah, no, I think we realize that you're gonna put new windows in that porch, that they're gonna be thermally broken and everything else. So I don't want you to keep the old windows, but I would like you to replicate the existing light pattern. That's all. And as far as the dining room, well, I'm just gonna suggest this, and maybe I'm wrong, but what if the opening were 10 feet wide instead of 6 feet wide, so that you could extend a table or the end of the table, through it if you had a large gathering. I think some remnant of that wall would be nice, but I understand.
I agree. Anything's nicer than the doors there now, that big white door, wherever it must have come in when they put, that's one of the apartments now. You guys know that, right? That's one of the side apartments.
We knew the door should go, and the opening should remain, and I think our preference was to keep the 6-foot opening, but maybe if it's a 10-foot opening, there'll be still a piece of wall on each side. That was something that my fellow members could live with. Not sure, just thinking about me.
So I think those are good comments. Jim and Anthony, why don't you go back to the drawing board with those? And then also we'd like to have more time. So let's reconvene in a couple of weeks And please get us any drawings for Thursday before, because otherwise we're gonna be in the same spot, and we're gonna push it off another 2 weeks. Okay? And I'm gonna stick to that. It's now the second time, Jim, that we've gotten drawings the day of the meeting. Okay? I know you guys are doing a lot of work, but we have to have it in that Thursday. So, unless there's any other public comment, Kat?
No, sir, not on the
Okay,
Zoom.
Great.
How about in the
I
room?
move that both of the board's wish and the applicant's wish that we adjourn to our next meeting. Okay, do you have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. See you guys in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
All right,
Okay,
thank you, Anthony. Thank you, everybody.
thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Jim. Get my stuff together. I will do some extra stuff. So. Okay, One Hampton Road, JME LLC. I don't know if the applicant is here, because we had some correspondence today, or at least some discussion, Jack. I don't know if you.
I'm not sure if he had intended on.
Showing
He
it.
came to me with the Joseph Tortorella.
What's the name?
Tortorella.
Is it me?
No.
Okay, what I'd like to do is, while we have the board present, just discuss an administrative aspect of this, which is that we had pushed this off, or adjourned it, to get another assessment, if you will, or a set of eyes to look at the process that was being proposed and whether or not it was appropriate and the best under the circumstances. There was also the issue of who was to pay for it. I've had some discussions with Alex and so I think we want somebody who is knowledgeable, and that could be, again, Joel, Zach, who's familiar with that. Alex suggested at one point perhaps the applicant should take on the responsibility of finding somebody, but then doesn't that bias, and are we then in the same spot where we'll be asking for an independent review?
No, it seems to me that if the applicant is presented with, let's say, 3 or 4 names of people that are considered knowledgeable about actually preparing accurate preservation of existing conditions and methods by which to move forward, then yes, I think the applicant should be paying for this. But I would think that based on several names, and he can choose.
Okay.
I also think that the applicant and the board's interest are making sure.
Yes. And I wasn't forcing a particular name as much as I reached out to Zach to find out who he might recommend and would come up with a set of historic preservation specifications by which we're talking about number 1 Hampton Road, which is the former town hall, and it's a highly visible and historic building, and sadly a lot of the stonework has been treated with Band-Aids, and at some point some of the stone elements have been substitute materials, including styrofoam, used in repairs. And so the idea was to do an existing condition report and then move forward, because what had been suggested was the application of a 3-part stucco system that in fact would have trapped the water behind and caused further
Okay,
damage.
all right, so we have at least 1 and possibly 2 names.
Yeah.
Assuming Zach is one of those names, and then perhaps if we can come up with a 3rd, and then we'll submit it to the applicant. Okay, that's how we'll handle that. Okay, So do you have to make a motion on that, or it's just,
No, but you can if you like, if you wanted to. I don't.
let's move on. Number 8, Daniel Crockett at 292 Ox Pasture requested an adjournment to the 11th, so I move that we accept the applicant's request. Okay, second by John Gregory, all in favor? Aye. Okay, great. So now we're on to driveway gates within the historic district. I will call, and I will be surprised if either DCK Wyndham or Paul Fagan are here. Anybody out there? Okay, so at the last meeting, we said that we would recommend, send a note to the building department to take action on DCK Wyndham, which is an illegally constructed gate. I will take care of sending Tim a note. And Paul Fagan, we said at the last meeting that it would require a reposting should he request. And we'll keep it on the agenda, or do we remove it from the agenda?
I think at a certain point, we might want to just drop it. We haven't heard at all from them, so it's not like they're adjourning.
Right, so I say let's take them both off the agenda.
And these cases have not gone up.
Well,
One of them has gone.
DCK Wyndham is up,
That's a
so
whole-
I will address that to the building inspector by letter, and I will copy the board and council on that. Okay. To take action. As far as the Paul Fagan, I don't know if we have to make a motion on it, but I would just summarily remove it from the agenda at least, but Jackie in the building department, he doesn't have to reapply, but obviously he'll need reposting. Does that work?
I think so.
Okay. Okay. All right, let's move on to public hearings, non-historic. We have the Heart of the Hamptons at 44 Meeting House Lane, which is a standing adjournment, so that we can move on. And then we have 3 from the last meeting that were held over for approval and voting this evening. Let's do those. That should be relatively quick. So, the application of Alana Cerulli at 124 Burnett Street, we had held that open for written comments. Have we received any written comments? No?
No,
But-
there was an additional submission.
Okay. So tell us who you are and show us what you've got, although we have copies.
Yeah, my name is Eric Peterson, the architect for the applicant. Yeah, just this was to follow up on the rear porch.
Great, okay, so do us a favor, put whatever you want to show on the table facing us, Kat, or facing
Yeah,
the back?
facing that way.
Okay, so facing us. Thanks, Eric.
Just give me 1 second to zoom in on it.
Goes here last summer for you guys rebuilding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they use the fly.
We never aged.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, my wife is happy that Jeff is helping. Earlier in the agenda.
Kat, you tell us when you're ready.
1 second.
Take your
The
time.
only thing is the Zoom people aren't gonna see it.
Yeah, would I be able to share my screen so that the people on Zoom can see what you're seeing? Is there something that's in?
Yes, right now they have the pool in the backyard with the, I forgot what it's called. That's perfect. Thanks, Alex.
I'm sorry.
Okay, ready to go? Kat?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Eric.
So I believe it was the second time I came back, I showed the same way.
Alex, do you have the rear? Yes, that's what we're all looking at. Thank you.
Thanks, Kat.
Mhm.
So the width of the deck, as I showed it previously, is the same, and the previous time I had shown it out to the metal roof. So, we talked about either a 5 foot or 7 foot deck, so it's been reduced to a 6 foot, so about the center of the rail, just so that it can open the door and move it without dropping around too much. So that's really the extent of what this presentation was.
Okay.
It was reflected in a number of drawings, so that's why I showed it.
Yeah.
The full set.
Okay, good. At least in front of me, I'm looking at the two pictures and perhaps not surprisingly, the smaller scale deck, if you will, looks better. I mean, it's more in scale with the house. So I think in this case, not only is the issue of privacy addressed, but also in terms of design, I think it's a better look. So, yeah.
And a good design, so thank you.
Yeah, it really is. Thank you.
It's so nice to see something there.
So,
It's not overblown.
Yeah, no, thank you. This was definitely a small case.
any public comment, Kat?
Give me 1 second. Okay, there are no hands up in the public.
Okay, so then I move that we accept the application and drawings as submitted on March 23rd. Sirota at 124 Burnett Street, second please on that. Second by John Gregory, all in favor? Aye. Aye, that's unanimous. Okay.
Aye.
So
Thank you
that's
so much.
approved.
Thank you.
Well done.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, 161 Corrigan LLC. To construct a two-story dwelling. This was also held open for written comment. Have there been any comments submitted? No. Is the applicant here?
Yes, Brian Glasser, he's coming in.
Oh.
Hi, Brian.
How's it
Can
going?
you get, for the record, just tell us who you are and who you represent?
So my name is Brian Glasser, representing 161 Corrigan Street. And basically, the last time we were at the hearing, I believe we got positive feedback from everyone on the current design. Just wanted to reach out and let Peter know I did make an attempt at some of the stuff that you mentioned. And I ran into a few things that came up. So between the town code with that flat roof, ended up having like a 35% flat roof calculation. And the landings on the stairs, my ceiling heights were getting a little tighter at like 6'6". So, and plus it wasn't balancing out the way I wanted it to. So I just want to let you know that kind of made those attempts and it just wasn't working out. So I think
And
that,
I think we're generally positive on the design.
yeah.
Okay.
The one other thing I wanted to add to it, my next house, it's something that I was thinking about with just the way the proportions, everything worked out. Peter, I know what you're going for. It's something I'm keeping in the back of my mind now for the next one, but.
Well, you know, Brian, the board is available for consultation. While we don't have formal work sessions, we do have, you do have the opportunity to come before the board on a consultation basis. Okay?
All right. Thanks.
So any public comment?
Well, actually, we're not accepting public comment, it's just written comment.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, you're right. Thank you, Alice. So in that case, unless anybody's going to write something really quickly, then I will move that we accept the application as submitted for 161 Corrigan LLC. Second already by John. It's fast on the buzzer. All in favor? Aye. Okay, great. Thank you, Brian.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a nice evening.
You too.
And I'll just mention for Brian and for the board, as you know, we're in the process of updating the village's comprehensive plan. So if there's village codes that are preventing architecture that we'd like to see, this would be, a good time to bring that to our attention and make sure that the planners who are writing the plan are aware of those issues.
All right. I mean, I had something kind of sketched out. If you guys want, if we want to set up a meeting, I would just on my free time, I'd like to come down and talk to you about some of this stuff. Because you already know, I do appreciate and respect everything you guys come up with, but those types of things I wouldn't mind being a part of. Definitely.
Sure.
Good.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, moving on. Thanks, Brian. Mitchell Kneff at 60 Multi-Neck Lane, you constructed one-story single-family dwelling. This too has been held open for written comments. Have any written comments been submitted? Okay. Is the applicant here?
Yep, I have somebody.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I won't mind seeing that again.
I'm bringing Lori and also Mitchell in. Maybe not Mitchell. Mitchell put their hand down, so just Lori's in. Hi, Lori, you're in. If you could start your camera and your microphone. Here's the video request. There we go. And you got it? Okay, good.
There we go.
Okay.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, just introduce yourself again, Lori, and tell us who you represent.
Hi, I'm Lori Beppo. I'm a senior associate at BMA Architects. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Mitchell Kneff.
Okay, great. Was there anything you wanted to add? And is that even possible?
No, I think you should just vote.
Okay, great. So good to have you. And so I move that we accept the applicant's Mitchell Kneff, 60 Halsey Neck Lane, as submitted at our last meeting. Right? Second on that?
Second.
Okay, good. All right, second by, I don't know, see the Peter or Sarah, the competing. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, so that's been approved, okay?
And thank
Thank
you
very much.
Thank
We appreciate it.
Okay.
Peter often makes a comment that modern is hard, and you've shown that modern can be good. Thank you.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate it.
Okay, next, 31 Roscoe Drive, Roscoe Drive, for the amendments to previously approved plan. So is the applicant here? I see Frank and okay. So introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and I'm just trying to make one comment before we start.
Absolutely. Good evening. My name is Denise Shern. I'm a partner at the Adam Miller Group in Bridgehampton, and I'm here tonight on behalf of the applicant, standing in for Haley Willis, who is on her honeymoon this week. So we're all
What
jealous.
priorities?
Really? This doesn't take precedent? What?
In a very warm location.
Wow. So for your benefit, and then also for Frank's as well, we'll introduce himself shortly. We do have your submission. So we're viewing this as a tabula rasa, a blank slate. The fact that something has already been done is really not an issue. We'll look at this as almost like a new submission. So what I'd like to do is not to revisit the issues related to things that were the result of Frank doing what he did. And so cost, shipping delays, all the other stuff are not germane. We appreciate them, but they're not germane for this discussion. I don't want to waste a lot of time. Okay. So let's go through the elevations and then we'll Alice, will give us that? As a preamble?
Ms. Shern is a very experienced
attorney, and I'm certain that she over criteria.
Okay, all right,
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, no, that wasn't meant to be pedantic or tutorial.
Understood, Mr. Chairman, completely. So I just wanted to point out that from reviewing the past meetings and speaking to Haley and of course, Mr. DeVito, what I understand, sort of the issues to be that it boiled down is the window replacement and also the color of the stain on the siding on the house. And so the plans that you have in front of you do have replacement windows in them, 4/1. And we have brought with us an image of the siding to show you what it would look like with solid white stain on it.
Do you want to just put
Does
that
it-
on
should I
the-
put it here?
Right.
Sure.
Thanks, Alice.
Would you like me to run through the rest of the changes? I know the board's talked about them at the past meetings.
Can you put the plans on the paper, Jeff?
Yeah, please. Well, like I said, Denise, it's not so much the changes that we make, although I realize it's presented as an amendment. Looking at this as a tabula rasa, would we approve this design as so, and that includes the verticality of the siding versus the single, and so, and the windows in terms of type and design. So we're looking at it almost from scratch. So you can take us through the elevations, tell us what the concept is, and then we'll open it for board discussion.
Jeff, we have the style of the house. We have the white city shingles on the front area and the upper area. We have a vertical stain siding, the same color as the white shingles on the main part of the house. I'm proposing a 4/1 because the architecture of the house, I think, looks for a bigger light pattern. And I understand the concept with the prairie style, but my feeling is looking at this, the right window is a larger light pattern. So I think the 4/1 is the correct pattern. I tried a 2/1 and a 2/2. It didn't work, and a 6/1 is just, they're too small. It's too busy. And I think this is the proper style for the house. We dressed the columns, we dressed everything pretty much with it, so the fireplace, the location went in as it had to be. It was a mistake on the earlier plan, but the fireplace chimney is where it is. We want the Danish blend, which is a more natural Long Island colored brick. And the entry door, we have the 6 light over 1 panel with the 2 side lights that just have horizontal, so that's 3 lights. Try to get everything to tie together nice, make it a simple, good looking house.
Board members, do you want to see the other elevations or no? Okay.
No.
All right, so let me open it for board discussion.
I'm in agreement that the 4/1 is the solution to the windows. The 6/6 would have been peculiar. And you are removing the prairie style windows and coming up with a solution that I think is a good solution. And similarly, the door seems to be with the divisions, it seems to reflect the 4/1 as well.
Yeah, I like the window pattern. I like the stained wood. I think it's fine.
I also think the stained wood is a prison.
I did try once again for more neutral.
I understand, and and it's good, it does look good. It breaks my heart to cover cheap, but I understand.
It's gonna age well.
Yeah.
It's gonna age
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
The window framing, that's all white?
Yes.
Okay. Is that specified right on it?
I think it says on the window schedule, it says, the link is made to order white windows.
Where is that?
The window schedule.
A2.5, at the bottom of the page on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
The living schedule.
2.825, bottom right.
8-2.5.
It just doesn't specify.
Yeah, sorry, it doesn't specify.
I want to take no chances on this property, so unless it's clearly specified.
Can you write it in?
Can you write it in?
We'll make notes
Yeah.
on the submittal when we put it in.
Well,
Handwrite.
You
white.
can write it now.
And then we're
If,
done.
if
Want me to
you're,
go on the small side?
Jackie, Frank is licensed architect, I mean, this is,
His name's on the plan.
isn't that on the plan, so, okay.
Yeah.
So you can write it in, Frank, on
You want it
this.
on a big set?
Yeah.
Here.
Or do you have the file?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put it
yeah.
on the file.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
This is the March 24th submitted.
Great.
Right on the front page where it says Lincoln window schedule, I'm gonna put, light flared windows with white framing.
Yeah, okay. They have to repeat that on. Yeah, so whenever the windows are specified, so is that simple, is that just a repeat? 2.5?
And I think 2.1 as well.
So, yeah, wherever that's.
Write typical, then you're done. Write typical, you're done.
Okay. Immaculate?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
all inclusive.
Mark, any comment from you?
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna mark the garage door as white also. because we have no color on it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Find the couple page where you made your notes. That would be good.
And the door, does that also? The door, why does it say so?
The door,
The front door, you mean?
the front entry door is also gonna be white.
Okay, you should probably just. Since there's a door schedule.
So
Sure, it's,
front door.
Yeah.
okay. Any, while you're doing that, you may ask Kat, is there any public comment?
No, sir.
Okay. Great. Anything in this, Alice? Good. Okay, so I'm gonna move that we accept the application, as submitted. And what's the date of that, those plans?
324.
Okay. So, I move that we, accept the application and plans as dated 3/24 and changed this evening, noted this evening for 31 Roscoe Developer LLC autonomously at 31 Roscoe Drive. Second on that, second by Peter. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Frank, needless to say, but I will say it, please, let's not do this again.
What they do, the happening house is done with the changes and.
Yeah, but there's a lot of unnecessary, as they say in the vernacular, service. So they don't need to have.
Send it there.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, great. Okay. All right, next application, Margaret Lewis at 63 Dale Street, two-story dwelling. Let's see, applicant here for that.
That's negative on my end.
Okay.
Should be James Bennett.
Yep. And also Monica Kane, maybe?
Yes.
Got it. Thank you, Jackie.
Okay.
They put their hand up, Andy.
All right, thanks, Denise. Thanks,
Thank you
Frank.
very much.
We'll see you.
See you next time.
Okay, let's see, so do we have somebody for Dale Street?
They're coming in on Zoom.
Okay.
Again. Charlie Bloom. Oh, Monica declined, so maybe she's not in for this. Okay,
That's it.
I got you, Monica. Thank you. And now she's. Monica, here, unmute. Did you want to be in for this or no? Yep. Monica, you just unmuted. Did you want to be in for this or not?
I just wanted to say that James Bennett is presenting tonight.
Yeah, he's in. He's in right here. Let me send him.
Okay, good.
Okay. You can stay in if you're here for this matter.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, ready to go?
We're getting there.
All right,
We're getting there.
you tell me when you arrive.
Mr. Bennett, are you ready to present?
Yes,
Okay, you are on.
All right, introduce yourself, James, and we'll proceed.
and so this is James Bennett, and I'm from Manorville, and we did the plans according to the way you wanted the roof.
Okay, so you made changes to the roof. Why don't you, let's see, do you have a screen share or do you want to, I can put ours down on the table.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I can share my screen if that's helpful.
That would be even better.
Is that Alex speaking?
That's Alex.
Yes, this is Alex. Can everyone, is this the right plan?
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Great.
Hi, James, so tell us what you did.
Well, we just straightened the roof out in order to have the squared off roof plan. And we put the freeze board on it, and hopefully this is what you wanted.
Okay, let's see. Peter, you're the roof maven. I'm gonna. Yes,
I
you're.
think it looks very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. You know, it's a nice looking little house.
Greatly improved, and thank you for following suggestions.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, any public comment? All right, if not,
Nope.
Good.
then.
I have it. Jeff, I have a question.
Sure,
What's
go
the,
ahead.
What's the width of the front door?
It's 3 foot.
Okay, thank you. Is it 9 feet? Is it 9 feet? Or is it an 8-foot door?
No, it's an 8-foot door by 3 foot wide.
Okay, thank you.
So then I would move that we accept the application and plans submitted, dated March 25th.
Second.
For, yeah, too bad. So, Margaret, looking at 63 Depot Street. We have a second, obviously, from John. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, James.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. So, SKV Wickapog Road LLC, Wickapog. And we have Sue, so again, just introduce yourself, Sue.
Hi, my name is Yu Liu. I'm the architect for 508 Wickapog. And the board made a suggestion to me with regard to the northeast elevation and southwest elevation. The northeast is where the garage is, and last time Peter made suggestion to raise the front portion of the roof to line up with the back. I think I took your comments about lowering the roof too literally, but once this line up, it's very easy to wrap it around. So that one is fixed. And then the other side.
Onto this path to get through anything with them with people. Yeah, so now all we're gonna do is print for the permit. Well, actually, the, we got the ARB approval. All we have to do is go to the, put in for the permit, and, it should be approved within a week. And we'll have, won't have any problems building what you want to build.
Mark, are you able to hear? I think I may have lost audio.
No, I think the audio disappeared.
Kat, if you can hear us, I think we've lost the audio feed. Jack says they're trying to figure it out.
Okay.
Not
scary, is it?
Yeah.
Can anybody hear me now?
No.
Now
no.
we hear you. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Now you're
never
back.
mind. I didn't know what. Okay, right.
Mark, we're just voting
Good
on
talking, no?
SKV Wickapog
Okay.
to approve.
I don't think you can hear us again.
I can hear you. What?
We just voted on SKV Wickapog Road LLC, 508 Wickapog Road.
Yes.
So we have 4 ayes.
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
You're welcome. A lot of laughter, but missed the punchline.
Okay, next application is that of Nicole Gallagher at 145 Wicker Park. Alterations to an accessory garage.
Okay, I have a mic coming in.
The applicant here.
Yeah, Mike is coming in. Jackie might have to get a last name, right?
Hi, how are you? My name is Mike Mandrasino, representing Nicole Gallagher. I believe Mr. Tom Volpes is also here. He's the architect of the drawings of the barn, both on the last time we submitted them and now the redrawings that we have tried with all our heart to adhere to the historical findings of the board.
Okay, great. So take us through the elevations, Mike, and what you did to preserve as much of that structure as possible. Mike, can you hear us?
I can, I'm sorry.
Yeah, take us through the elevations and show us what you're preserving, and you said you were adhering to the recommendations of the historical consultant, so.
Yes, I'm not the architect. Let me make sure he's joining us.
What was his name?
Tom Volpes.
Yes, I'll bring him in.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Couple more seconds, he'll be in. I see it
Thank you.
process.
Okay, Tom, you have to unmute. I saw him for a second.
He's there. He's here.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, guys.
All right, can we pull the drawings up on the
That
on the
would
web,
be
or should I
great.
just?
Yeah, no, pull them up if you can. Share your screen.
Are you able to do that, Tom?
No, I don't have anything in front of me.
Alex, do you want to do that again? Otherwise, we'll lay these out on the table.
Sure, I can do that. Just give me one moment, please.
Thank you, everybody.
That's what I feel like saying. Thank you, everybody.
Can everybody see this? How's that?
Yes, it's beautiful.
No problem. Let me know if you need to go to a specific page.
So, Tom, they'd like us. Okay.
I'll take you through the elevation. So based on the recommendations from the board, we tried to address all four elevations and, adhere to what was asked of us. So the south elevation, we have one pair of barn doors in the center, one double hung window on the right side of the bay, and a 6-light awning window above that. As best, I guess, from the pictures from the old barn back in the 1800s, that's basically what was on that elevation. So those double barn doors, we also opened up the middle bay. It's a 3-bay barn. The middle bay goes up to the roof now. We originally had the right side up to the roof, which wasn't in context of the original historical building that was there. The east elevation, the original building had cedar shake shingles, so we put the cedar shakes on that whole side of the building. On the first story, we have a 3-window unit from left to right, and then we have a double hung window, and then we put a gable window on the upper side. Moving on to the north elevation. On the first story, we have a double hung window, one in the left and then one in the right. They mimic each other. And then we have a 9/6 window above that. Again, from the historical pictures, I guess we believe that that's original to the barn. And then on the western elevation, we have a triple window on the second floor with a 6-light awning above that. We also modified the interior to replicate the last request on the document that was given to me. And we now have the open bay in the middle, and the left and the right wings are floors at the second level. There really is no attic in here. I think the original barn had an attic in it, that they had a ship's ladder going to it, but there is no attic. So we're going to keep it open, like the picture that was shown to us in the report that was given to me, with the exposed existing roof rafters and boards that are underneath the shake shingles. The roof is a cedar shake roof, and on the exteriors, we also got rid of that horizontal bar that separated the first floor from the second floor. I guess that was put on after the original barn, so I tried to copy that, but the report suggested that we take that out and go from the foundation to eave height. So we adhered to that as well, hoping that we've met all the criteria that was asked of us.
It appears to clearly when it comes to the exterior materials, painted the barn red, and the fenestration patterns that were called out, you appear to have met the requirements indicated by our historic preservation consultant. The only thing that I would like to take issue with are the carriage style lights that you've added, which look too much like a 1920s colonial revival light, and I would suggest that, you know, something rather than ye olde, something
like a gooseneck.
Like a gooseneck would be far superior.
And more barn-like.
And more barn-like, or even.
We will put whatever light you want on there.
Well, I think it would be more in keeping with the vernacular style building rather than the old carriage light.
That's a really good point. And to be honest with you, where I have those lights, I would probably like to do one gooseneck above the barn.
Above the door.
Yeah.
So this way, when the doors open, we don't destroy the lights.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's better.
That's much better anyway. Okay.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
It does.
Very nice.
Thank you. I'm sorry that the previous hands destroyed things, but I think you've done a rather good job of reconstructing.
Now on the gooseneck, not to get too technical, you know, when I think of a gooseneck on a barn, it's that sort of green with the white, you know, green outside with the white underneath, as opposed to a brass or a chrome, or not brass or.
Yeah, like painted.
Any color paint, as far as I'm concerned, but nothing fancy.
Nothing shiny or fancy. Understood.
Right.
So matte paint.
Matte painted.
No high gloss.
Okay, so and we can, I guess, write that in, Jackie. Yeah. Rather than waiting 2 weeks.
You can make that a condition of approval.
Yeah.
We can, yes.
Okay.
Can we
and
do
then-
that? And you'll send.
Yeah, and then I'll make sure when I sign the plans tomorrow, I'll notate that. Okay.
Maybe you can send a memo to that extent.
Well, I'll put it in the plan, so it'll.
When you make the motion tonight, you can just say.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be in the minutes as well.
I have a question. Sarah, when you look at the exposure, the shingle exposure on the north elevation, does 8-inch seem proper to you?
Yeah.
I would think that if you.
I'm sorry, on the east, what's here? It says north here, on the east elevation where there's this natural shingle wall.
On the east elevation, that doesn't seem to bother me, but if you want to run it by Sally, just to double check.
No, I just want to make, because when I'm looking at it, I think it's right. I just would like to have a double check that 8 was the original.
Okay, all right.
Now you guys are adding one dimension on there that might preclude us from approving this evening.
Well, you know what?
Which is okay. What do you think, Alice? Approve it.
Mark, if I could, if you could look at page 5 of the report that was given to us, and you'll see the shingles on there.
Yeah, but
It looks to be like about 8 inches.
Yeah, I'm counting courses on your window is what I'm doing against the pictures.
They do seem to be very large.
Yes.
And I was looking to see if Sally actually called it out on her report. But I was very pleased actually in looking at it that they weren't mingy. So I would, eight seemed pretty good to me.
What were you talking about, the vertical?
Yeah, the coursings
The coursing.
of the shingles.
The coursing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think 8 inches is fine. I mean, you do see that in the old houses, like,
It's
halls,
almost a bigger reveal.
a bigger reveal.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
think it's fine.
I think the
like it.
reveal is good because,
Okay.
It's
I
less
just wanted-
refined than a,
Yeah.
Oh, no, I
Yeah.
understand it, but they look bigger than normal. Frankly, I was making sure they're big enough. All right.
Okay, all right, so we're good then. So I would move,
Is there public comment? Did I ask-
public comment, thank you, Alice.
No, sir.
it lines up, right?
It doesn't.
I think it's good.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I just asked.
he does say 8
Write that
inches, so,
Yeah.
all right, so any public comment?
No.
No, okay, thank you. So I move that we accept the applicant's submission and the application with the provision of adding a single gooseneck over the barn doors to be painted in a matte finish. So,
And eliminating the existing proposed lights.
and eliminating that's right,
Proposed lights.
the
Carriage lights.
lights.
Yeah.
Yes, and eliminating the carriage lights. Okay, great. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Jackie, you got that? Okay.
Mr.
thanks.
Chairman, I just ask you to note that with your signature, so the building inspectors will pick up on it when they issue the
Yep.
CO.
We'll do, when I sign the files tomorrow, we'll definitely notate that.
Excellent.
I say amen and I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
More of a compliment than I expected, or perhaps even one. But that's
hard to get hate mail for one.
all right, so. All right, next application, Anthony and Elizabeth Sonore at 117 Wickapog Road for a 2-story, single-family dwelling with attached garage and accessory structure. All right, Anthony and Elizabeth here, or is somebody representing them?
I'm bringing the Giuseppe in.
Okay.
Hi, Giuseppe, you're in.
Okay, good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir.
We can introduce yourself again, Giuseppe.
Hi, good evening. My name is Giuseppe Adragna, and I'm the architect for Mr. and Mrs. Signore of 117 Wickapog Road. So, to recap, last meeting built off of our first meeting, and we received what I feel was embrace as we toned down that original sleek modern look and presented a more soft traditional feeling white shingle home. I did receive and enact a tip from Mr. DeWitt where I modified the garage gambrel roof to seamlessly interact with the main roof of the house. While it may not immediately be noticed, this did massage some lines right where they should be. Also, the next comment from the board was referring to the porch columns and that the Tuscan capital and base may not be the best option. So in the spirit of...
Okay.
Oh,
sorry. Thank you.
Everyone on board? Could share.
we have to show it to the public. That's
Jeffrey, would you like to share your screen?
Yeah, I am prepared to do so.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
And share.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So the first one was about the gambrel roof, and I kind of massaged it to, as requested by Peter DeWitt. It had the opportunity to really interact with the roof line of the main building beyond. So it took some massaging and they now line up and they seamlessly interact. So it is definitely more integral to the mass of the house. The next comment was referring to the porch columns in the front. And we originally had a Tuscan style capital and base. And we thought it would be better to lend itself to more of a traditional farm style, more simple instead of the heavier crown. So we did go to 8-inch square posts, and they do clean up the look of that front porch, further gaining on the first comment from the first hearing where we had a little too much going on. So other than this, we were asked to investigate how our house would fit into the streetscape. And more specifically, we were asked to review 3 houses on each side of our property. So first, I prepared this exhibit where we're looking at 3 houses on either side. Start with the 3 houses to the left, 61 Wickapog Road, 83 Wickapog Road, 107 Wickapog Road, which is directly to our west. And then on our east side, there's 127 Wickapog, 135, and 145. So of these 6 houses, 5 are white shingle. And then the furthest one, which is 61 Wickapog, it's a natural darkly weathered shingle. So while the neighboring houses, they're all the same siding and roof material, they do happen to be different enough from one another in several ways. Some of the houses, they have front porches with metal roofs. Some of them have the wood shingle roof. Some houses have square columns, round columns. Some have shutters at the windows. There are different types of roof dormers that are visible to the street. Some are doghouse, some are shed dormers. And the neighbor directly to the west of us has sweeping curved roofs. So all these different elements lead me to conclude that Wickapog Road, it's a street that's welcoming of new design. I mean, they're all classical in style, but they all have their own unique modern touches. So the next study I prepared was showing our house in context as we take a stroll along the road. So since our front yard setback is in character of the neighbors, and we will also continue the privacy hedges that surround us on both sides, this house does not stand out as irregular or eccentric, and it seems to fit right in. So, I mean, other than being the most bright white house in these 3-dimensional views, it does fit in character, in my opinion, and doesn't stand out as not belonging. I'm open to hearing your thoughts.
Well, I would agree. I think it's an interesting addition to the street. It doesn't, depart that much from other design, but it's interesting and different. I don't have a problem with it. Okay. Mark, and then we'll go to the folks to my left.
No, I think the house, after a whole lot of nice work on the part of the architect, I think it's doing a better job of fitting into the street. On page 201, what you're calling the side innovation, it's not a big deal, but I really feel like the window to wall ratio is pretty skimpy on that wall. But the house itself to the street, I think is in much better shape and fits in better.
That was a comment from the first hearing, and I did beef up the fenestration, but this part all the way down at the end is the master suite, and we really have our light coming in from the rear yard. They're looking for, a little more darkness. So after you discount this, I think the fenestration and siding is pretty close to where it needs to be. So I did address it the first time, which wasn't discussed last week, but it is something that I was aware of, and I think it's feeling better.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, Peter and Sarah.
Well, I guess I'd like to see the roofs, the eaves line up a little more. The dormer, perpendicular to the gambrel, facing west is a little lower. And also, I think I failed to mention this, the dormer on the east side of that front-facing gambrel, that's very odd looking with the off-center window with the gable over it. Maybe if you didn't have the gable, it wouldn't emphasize it so much.
Which,
Frank,
That would be on the side elevation and the,
this one here?
Here,
it's on the side elevation facing east.
Okay, so, oops,
I was looking for that.
what is this one? So the one above the garage doors?
Yes, exactly.
yes.
Okay. What was your comment about that?
Well, it's,
I know you said that the eaves don't line up, which it was on purpose. I think it was going for a little too much alignment, and it would make it appear a little too tall if I had brought it up that extra 6 to 8 inches. But just, I guess maybe what, the lopsidedness?
I see that point, making it lower, yeah. I guess that dormer is sort of bothering me. I mean, can you have another window and lose the little inset gable?
Yeah. Yeah, we could make it a hip dormer like the other side.
Regular. I think I'd make it more regular. And what do we think about the tower? The tower. I don't know.
In terms of its,
The heave line and how it, pops up again.
well, we spoke last week about perhaps straightening it rather than being bell-shaped.
Right, we did.
And Giuseppe said he would run it by his client, but his client wasn't necessarily disposed to do that. I don't know how it would look simpler, I think.
It would look simpler, but it was a non-budge point from my client's end. He feels he did budge enough when he went from metal to shingle, and this is still something that he and both my client, the husband and wife, really do want to see on their house.
I appreciate that. At the same time, your original premise was to create something that was agrarian, had elements of being agrarian, and a bell-shaped turret does not. So I don't know if it's the hill that the board wants to die on.
It's not my favorite element, but I think in the scheme of things, since he's shown it in context with other buildings on Wickapog, given its massing, I think it's relatively minor.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think when you look at the streetscape,
That puts things into
it puts it into a different perspective.
And that's why this exercise has all been useful.
I agree.
Yeah. So I guess to me, it's that the odd looking dormer facing east over the garage. If it could just be like the one on the other side, I think it would be better.
And it 100% can be just like the one on the other side. I think it blends in and disguises into the shingle roof.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's both in the elevation and in your schematic, it sticks out. So that's great.
So let me ask for public comment. Any, Kat?
No, sir.
All right. So Giuseppe, it's significant enough that I would like to ask you to come back with that revised elevation. Do you agree, Alice and board members? Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's a side elevation, and we already do have the reference of what it needs to look like as the dormer that's on the front side of that garage. I definitely would argue that it's not as significant to be the only reason to return next hearing.
All right. I appreciate your argument, but at the end, we do have to have the plans reflect what we approve. If it's a light like we did in the last application, that's one thing. If it's a structural element, then we do need to see it. So again, I appreciate your position, but ours remains as it is. So on that, I move that we adjourn this application to our next meeting to allow the applicant to submit new elevations with the discussed change. Do I have a second on that? Second. All right, John, Alice, we good with that? Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thanks, Giuseppe, and we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. And then
Thank you.
we'll
I'll
wrap it
see you
up.
guys in 2 weeks. Do we know
Okay.
if we're going to do this in person and Zoom next
We're
hearing?
gonna do a hybrid again until the village tells us otherwise.
Wonderful.
Sorry?
All right, guys. Thank
Until
you for your
further
feedback.
notice.
All right. Thank you for your
All
feedback.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Giuseppe.
thanks for the exercise.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next, Patrice McGee and John Kusakria, I'm sorry, that's adjourned?
Adjourned.
Right, okay. So, did they provide us with a date? Oh, there we go. So I move that we accept the applicant's request to adjourn to the 25th. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you, Jackie. Okay. Let's go, Charles Falco at 135 Lewis Street. Applicant requests adjournment to the 11th. I move that we accept the applicant's request. I will also note to my fellow board members that we've had discussions, and we being myself and Mark McIntyre, separately with the building department, about addressing this rather egregious violation of the provisions. So do I have a second to adjourn to the 11th?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. So that's adjourned. Okay, Stephen Boyd at 104 Foster Crossing to construct a pool cabana. Thank you, Alice.
We received the affidavits and they are in order, so we can take jurisdiction.
Okay, great. So tell us who you are and who you represent and where you hail from.
I am Raymond Reynolds, architect. I represent the client, Stephen Boyd. I reside at 44 South Atlantic Road, Shelton Island, New York.
Okay.
Probably bringing these up digitally, if you have them.
Well, actually, I think if you're putting them on the table, Kat can zoom in. Yeah.
So what we're presenting today is a application for a new pool cabana, which is in the rear yard of the property, adjacent to a new pool. And, it's a very simple cabana structure that's very open to maintain use of the yard. Has a very low pitch kind of slung roof with some gable end windows and some shutters and color schemes that will match the existing residence.
Okay. For the benefit of the board and the public, and also because I would need magnifying glasses to read the materials. Can you just quickly
Sure.
tell us what the materials are and the colors?
Yeah, we're actually going with cedar shingles to match the existing residence. And we'll also be using vertical cedar siding that will be stained white to match elements of the existing residence. The residence has some cedar shingles on the last page of the application. You'll notice there's some existing materials of the house, including the gray shutter color that will match. You can see that there's a mix of materials on this house. There's kind of some cool quirkiness to some elements of this house. And we're going to bring the vertical cedar center match siding to the gable ends of this building. That'll all be stained white.
And also the roof is cedar as well.
The roof will be cedar, yes.
Okay, good. Comments from the board?
Well, I think it's too formal. I mean, the house is a colonial revival sort of salt box. It's not very classical, but it's a beautiful house.
Sure.
And I find the sort of Tuscan columns a little too fancy for the property it's on. I mean, it's a beautiful property. I don't mean it's a magnificent property.
Yeah, it's a great property.
But I mean, for the house, that's there. That's my only, the plan looks fine. Everything else to me is fine. That's my only comment.
We could simplify the Tuscan order, so that it's something a little more, understated.
Yeah, well, yeah, this is it's like a colonial revival house. Yeah. And it's relatively Spartan, which is
Nice,
nice, yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful house.
Yeah.
but to have paired squared columns is, it rather overwhelms the main.
Yeah, it's a large span. So when we looked at the example with just a single column on both corners.
Oh, no, I can see that would look bad.
Looks too spindly, kind of.
Yes.
No, I think a paired column is probably the right way to do it.
Just detailing is different.
But
Yeah.
the details.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Any public comment, Kat?
No, sir. They'll be
Okay.
left in there for Jackie.
All right,
Because the materials are nice.
Yeah, I think it'll be beautiful.
all right. So, all right, well, I appreciate you taking to heart the board's suggestions. So if you can get us new plans and the renderings Thursday before our next meeting, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Right.
And I think it should be pretty good from there.
Okay.
So I move that we adjourn the application of Stephen Boyd and 104 Crossing to our next meeting.
Second.
Second by John, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you for your
Great.
comments.
Hey, thanks a lot. Okay, next application is Andrew Spicer at 85 Hildreth, one-story addition, covered front porch addition to existing garage. We see you again. Okay, we're good here in terms of the affidavits.
Oh, yes, sorry, this is the new application. We received affidavits and they're in order, so we can take jurisdiction.
Okay, great. So introduce yourselves again in the case of CU, and you, sir, tell us who you are.
Hello, my name is Yu Liu. I'm the architect for Spicer Residence, and here's my associate, Josh, and he is gonna do the initial.
Okay, Josh, what's your last name?
Sancho.
Okay, Sancho.
Sancho.
Just like it sounds, good. Okay, the floor is yours.
Good evening, board. Thank you, Lucy. Yeah, we're here representing Spicer family. You'll see here in plans we got existing conditions at the left side and proposed at the right. Something that we're proposing is demolish the existing dent that is between these two volumes. And to do that, we're gonna shift it to the front and we're gonna have an opening to create a pool for them. And we're gonna extend the garage 5 feet forward to create, a better living accommodate for the master bedroom. Also, we're aligning we're creating a covered porch on the front. As you'll see in the elevations. It will create nice, as you can see at the bottom, I'm sorry, is the existing. We got a portico that we're gonna make and creating this porch that is gonna be a flat roof, but it's gonna make a good balance to the existing conditions of the house. And yes, I already said that, we're gonna extend that and create that roof. Okay, and also in the back, we're gonna create this, we're gonna have this sliding doors to have an access to the pool. And also, we're gonna use We're going to be cedar roof, shingles, 5.5 exposed. It's going to be might be gray.
Just careful the microphone.
There's a microphone on the.
I apologize.
That's okay.
I apologize. And yes, and we're gonna have trees. Green is gonna be maybe more high part. And also we're gonna have natural wood goes for the corridor.
Josh, on the west elevation,
Yes, sir.
The left facing windows. Is that, what's behind those windows? Is that a room or is that? It's not a breezeway, obviously, I don't think.
Between the garage and the.
No, it's open. That's where the pool is gonna be.
The recessed, it's very.
Yes, it's recessed. There's an existing deck in there that we're gonna demolish and we're creating exclusive point.
Back, like 14 feet.
Okay.
It's a recess.
Okay,
You know, the elevation looks flat, obviously, but it's set way back.
so the pool is.
Pool is this, it's really completely recessed.
Yeah, into the house.
Into the
Yes.
house.
Into the
Yeah.
house.
Yes. Basically, we'll point out that volume
Uh-huh,
and creating that for
Okay.
the pool.
all right, that's good. No, good, I'm not a pool person, so, you know. That's me.
I would, yeah.
Okay, comments?
Well, I like the fact that you're unifying the windows in the house. I just think they're the wrong windows for the house. The core of the house seems very traditional to me, and those are like casement windows. Are those metal windows that you're proposing?
They're not metal windows. They're Anderson A series, architectural series.
Yeah.
I believe they're fiberglass. And we have actually pictures of the existing house. They have windows and door. They have doors, like the front door and the two side doors are already. It's called dark browns window, and they're Anderson East, Anderson A series. They're fiberglass windows,
Okay.
and it's already in, and they do have building permit for it. And then I can pass
Well,
the.
I think.
I'm confused. The windows are already in? Is that?
Yes, they have the permits. They saw the permit is.
Well, that doesn't work that way, does it?
No, they do have permit. It's before me. I started working for them in December, but they do have permit in April 16th, 2021.
Right, but you're submitting a new design and a design with fenestration on it. So we're approving that which is presented here.
Yes.
That which exists or was approved before is to some extent not relevant because you're submitting this. And so to mirror John's comments, and Hildreth is a very, it's a street with subtle houses that have been there a long time in many cases, and even the newer houses they're understated. And this design, although it has some very good elements to it, I think when you bring in the contemporary windows with the black, or what appear to be black framework, you've now popped this whole thing out. It's right on the corner. And I think it stands in juxtaposition to the other houses on the street, which are much more understated. So I think you're in the right direction. And I think that's what some of you folks are. But I think some of the treatments are making it different
Well,
making it less compatible, which is our jurisdiction.
yes, I understand. There is a little, hardship difficulty because they don't have a lot of funds, so they were doing the renovation.
Neither here nor there. It's just
A
for
little
what?
bit in a piecemeal.
Yeah.
They did went to the building department and talked to Tim and Chris. And they get permit to do this, and at the time, they were told that they can replace all the windows and doors. And there is nothing said to them that they can only do certain windows and doors. And it is all unfortunate they bought windows and doors because the salesperson told them that because of COVID,
Well,
the waiting period
I hate to
is
cut you
6
short,
months.
but we can only review what is put before us, correct? And what is put before us, to me, is not acceptable. So let's start there.
Yeah, I understand, but there's a little bit history.
Yes, that's
in
great. Good to know.
So
It was encouraged by the building department.
Now,
Because it was.
Are you telling me the building department encouraged you to buy windows?
Mark, is that you?
Yes.
Okay, we'll let Mark speak.
I have two questions. I think my one comment would be the front door is missing because it's a sliding door.
Examples.
I'm sorry, can you turn up the volume on that, Kat?
I just did.
My only comment would be that the front door of the house seems to be missing because it's a sliding door and has no presence to the street. And I think that the large sliding doors heading for the pool are out of scale.
I agree with that. The front door doesn't look like a front door at all, and the pattern I think is awkward.
Yeah.
It's a sliding door versus the front door.
And the huge wall of
The
windows in the
front door
back.
is a sliding door at the moment. I believe the same issue is that, the door was purchased, and of course, I would try to convince them to do something different for the front door, but there is really hardship for the windows and doors they bought, which was told that they could replace.
So, Steve, let me, this board can do one of two things, either approve or disapprove. So you've submitted a plan. We either approve the plan or we disapprove the plan. Whatever took place before is not, if it's in this plan, then it's subject to either our approval or disapproval. So now understand, if they purchased something before and that's the driver, then they don't have to come before us and ask for any changes, so they can keep the house exactly as it is. So your client has to make a decision as to what they would like to do. Either keep the house as it is because they purchased a door and windows, or we can work with you, as we've done on other applications, to come up with a design that works. If that means that the applicant has to buy new doors, I'm terribly sorry, but that's just part of the approval or disapproval. Yes.
Just a question.
Yes.
It seems that the board is agree with the design, but not with the windows. Not even with the design.
Not by a long shot.
Well, there were a few comments. One, there was some comments about the fenestration. I think there's not only in terms of the style of fenestration, the framing. Then John had indicated that the extent of the fenestration, and then there was issues having to do with the design of the door. So there are multiple things. And so, Peter, Sarah?
Sure. Well, Sarah pointed out the sliding front door. That's really, that doesn't happen in the village anywhere. And it truly is a patio door. So I don't think that's an acceptable solution for the front of the house.
Maybe it could be reused on another elevation, but not necessarily.
But the color is wrong. You know, the bronze is not, no. That's almost as bad as black.
I agree 100%.
And I'm sorry they bought them, and I don't know. We didn't see this in last April, so I don't know how that happened.
They do have some.
Well, I don't want to hear, you know what, see you, I don't care. Sorry.
Yeah.
We don't care.
Right, I mean, the building department, if it's maintenance, then that's one thing.
Does anyone have an issue with the heft of the new porch over the?
Yes,
Yes.
that was next.
That was nice.
Okay, keep going.
Yes, listen, I think that, I like the porch. I think it's fine. It's too heavy though. I mean, if you could just use the lower,
Yeah.
architrave or entablature, and if it were the same dimension as the edge of the eave, that would be a continuity. That would improve it, I think. It's very heavy.
It's too beefy.
Yeah. I don't mind. I don't mind the sort of modern windows, but the color I find really egregious. So
maybe that's the issue. If they were the
greenish,
the color, the green of the trim,
yeah,
would change the entire appearance of the house.
Yeah, it's that greenish color. And I'm going to disagree with my other board member, fellow board members with that large window facing west, facing the pool court. I think it's so far back, it's in a recess that it doesn't bother me, and I think it kind of goes with the pool. But
it runs on the pool.
Yeah.
Well, what's the distance between the?
It's deep.
The house and the property that's the nearest.
Oh, right. Good point.
The house to.
No, there's
do we have a
little
survey?
site plan. It's very close. It's very close.
But look how deep the window is and it's shielded on both sides by the pool.
Yeah.
I still think it's good.
Well, how far is the rear of the house, or the west side of the house from the lot line? I think that's what we want to know. I can't read it.
It's more than 20 feet.
Okay, that's close.
More than 20 feet?
Yeah, the house is actually quite small.
Yes.
And from the sliding door that you were talking about, the sliding door, that you will add another 25 feet.
Yeah, I think that's
23.
I think of light pollution for the neighbor on the opposite side.
So are the windows here or here? Those big windows. Are they here or here?
We're back here.
Oh, okay.
So this is the shape of the house.
Right.
And they're recessed.
Right. So it's going to be, and right now the windows in the rear are back here.
No, they're the breezeway is recessed as well.
Oh,
in the
okay.
existing.
They're pretty deep inside. I think that.
If there's one less row, that would be acceptable to me.
They're almost the same
Yeah,
dimensions as the existing windows. Maybe.
There was a.
Yeah, I think it'd be right if you didn't have that top row for three high instead of 4 panes high.
Mhm.
Might look better.
Yeah.
And it would still be larger than the existing.
Yes, and it would match the house on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree, John.
Oh, yeah. It would be closer to the dimension on the other.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it would just it would go to the floor instead. So I think that would be
All right.
better. So I guess the front door, that recessed window, I think consensus here is maybe it should just be 4 or 3 panes.
3 panes.
3 panes high.
Rather than 4.
Rather than 4.
On the west elevation. too?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also on this massive porch, there's a very awkward way that it doesn't resolve itself. It dead ends into the garage, or that's what appears to happen when you're looking at the elevation.
Oh, so you're saying if it was more like, if it.
Well,
ended
it
here and this-
just sort of,
Yeah.
isn't that an odd thing?
Yes. I don't know how you'd solve it. I mean.
Yeah.
I think if it were just more.
If it
was
were
thinner.
if it were thinner,
yeah.
it won't be as obvious.
Yeah, if it was the same dimension as the eave board.
Right,
At the bottom of the, the cake.
Of the garage and.
I'm looking at the garage and the beepiness comes across and dead ends. If it were just a single, it will not be quite as.
Right.
Okay. So summarize.
Okay, so let's see if I can summarize. Looking at the front, there's an issue with the door, that the door is not a door, or at least it's not compatible with doors in the neighborhood. The front porch is massive, in part because of the, what would you call the baluster?
Yeah, the entablature, you know,
Okay.
the fascia, the fascia.
Thank you.
It's like a double fascia.
Double fascia rather than
And
a
a single
single.
fascia would be plenty.
Right.
Or, excuse me, if you wanted a double one, then make it lower, make it below that one, not on top of it, which might actually help with the columns. The columns look kind of tall.
And then as far as looking at the front, the fenestration, the windows apparently are okay for the majority of the board, from what I can sense. However, the framing needs to be toned down. Okay, right?
Right, the color, yeah.
Okay, the color. And then as we go to the rear, the windows on the west elevation, instead of being 4 panes high, to reduce them to 3 panes high.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just remove the top pane and fill that in. What else will be in, gentlemen?
Are those windows, those are not doors, correct? Those are windows, the 4 over 4, or the 4.
Yeah, good point.
See the proposed east elevation, you have a series of tall, narrow windows. And then after you get past, yes. And then you have a triple set of windows. It seems to me that if, once you resolved your problem with the front door, the sliding, it might be a better design if you were to take those 3 and maybe the 2 central ones, combine them into
Right.
a paired.
Right, so instead of a vertical,
Yes.
a vertical down the middle. Is that perhaps?
Yes.
Or just, you know, they make the proportion of those single windows, those single, you know, vertical windows facing east, more like one of the 3 in the triple ganged window.
Right, or maybe even combine this as a double gang.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I see.
These are suggestions. The 3 in tandem seem very mingy. That's an architectural term. And if you were to gang, I mean, if you were to pair these, it would add a little more architectural weight to them, and it would not be quite as 3 singles.
Okay. All right.
And that's
Yeah.
So could I just, I see like, I want to repeat myself, so
Sure.
I figured out
Okay.
I interpreted you correctly.
Yes, of course.
So lower the porch roof
Mhm.
and maybe band it together. And then, you want to lower the sliding door by 1 row.
Mhm.
And that's basically, that basically is in
And the front
terms
door.
of the, oh yeah,
The front door.
And that basically is.
And the
in
color of
terms
the windows.
Yeah, then the last thing is the color.
Yeah, maybe they can paint them.
All right, let me ask Kat, any public comments? There's a couple of people. Mr. Bennett?
My name is John Bennett.
Hey, Kat, can you pick him up?
We get the pictures.
Alright.
You move this.
And John, just you may as well give us
Well, I
your.
have to step forward.
Okay.
My name is John Bennett. I'm with my wife Carol Lee Bennett, who's here. I own 60 Hillbrook, which is on Hillbrook Street. It's about 200 feet away. And my wife also, Carol, owns 61 Jennings, which is a house to the west, immediately to the west. And I have several very serious concerns about this. First of which is if I find it hard to fathom that on a house, this little house, the size of these windows, you would even consider them appropriate. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about history, and they don't have any approval from this board. And what you're being given here is a claim, a misrepresentation that these things were existing. None of these metal bronze doors, and they're doors, they're not windows, they have handles on them. ever had any approval from this board, nothing, zero. So what I'm going to show you is a bunch of two photographs. One is sort of distorted, but you'll get the point, that I took from the Google Earth.
And John, of course, put at least one on the table.
Okay, took from the Google Earth street view
So Kat can pick it up.
And I know, I know the area very well.
Tip it over. Thank you.
So this is what the house looked like for years. It had these two double hung windows flanking the chimney. Okay. And then on the front, well, this is the front, this is the east elevation on Jennings. And then here's the, no, it's not the south. And then here's the east elevation on Jennings. So you can see the same thing.
It's right on the property line almost. It's like the backyard is.
I know, I'm trying to get it, John. I'm trying to get it.
Here's the east elevation. That's what it looked like before these doors were put in. I find absolutely no approvals for these large metal doors that flank the chimney now. And somebody may have had a building permit to do something.
No, we didn't see
it.
We didn't see
it would be valid, you know. And then on the east elevation, again, now he's got this metal door in the front, and now he wants to just compound this horrible error. These should be all these windows should be double hung windows like every other, I mean, in terms of the neighborhood point of view, I'm just like starting.
I'm sure.
Surrounding neighborhoods. And I think Jeff characterized it well. They're homes that don't call attention to one another. They're traditional Southampton homes.
Now it's.
John, just watch the mic there.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's evident why the pool is inset.
I have so much to say about the pool and its legality. I'll get to that.
Okay.
So this is the house directly across the street, diagonally across the street from Carol's house and my house. This is the old J. Foster Terry house. But you can see it's very typical. This is our house on 60 Hilda Street. Again, double hung windows. We were very, very particular. They're 6/1, which you saw in that era, because people started having a little money, so they could put one big pane. And very traditional. The front is clapboard, and the rest is shingle, like a Nantucket or a Sag Harbor house. This is the house just past our Jennings Avenue house, which again, what was the doctor's name? Dr. Peters lived there. Took very good care of it. It's across the street. A recently redone house, and then our house is at Jennings, which is just to the Carol's house at Jennings, which is just to the west. And then there's a row across from Jennings. I always liked this house because someone took a rather simple but honest ranch house and made it into a foursquare. Sort of neat. But in any event, just look at the fenestrations.
Yes.
These are like a thumb in the eye.
I agree.
To the sense, and the fact that someone bought these windows and now wants to use them. Imagine if that was a rationale for coming
For everybody, yeah.
Okay, so these windows should be retrofitted. I'm sorry, you have to take them out, reframe them, and I would be my position, and take them back to where they should be. So several of these existing conditions that are noted on the architectural plans simply don't have any benefit. You wouldn't even begin to consider windows of this size if there wasn't some claim that somehow they had been purchased or some of them were put in. They were put in without no benefits. And again, they're doors. They're not windows. Look at them. You can drive by them. They have handles on them. So I see no proof there. And then let me tell you about this extension of the garage. It's not a garage. I appeared before, this gets me very annoyed. I appeared before the Zoning Board of Appeals sometime, I guess it was last year. It was a very expansive application for this lot. And as a result of input not only from Carol and I, but from pretty much the entire neighborhood. The application kept on being pared down and pared down and pared down. And what that extension coming out of the garage was for was a garage. Indeed, the variance application, the findings, which and our letter agreeing to the variance application for the garage is specifically stated in the variance application. I'll give you some copies of that. Because the whole idea was it to be a garage because Mr. Spitzer parks all over the grass on both Jennings and Hilbert, and he parks multiple cars all over the street on the grass. And I supported it because I said, oh, at least he's going to get one of his cars into a garage. Look at the site plan. This is not a garage. It's 9 feet deep.
No, it's not a garage.
I think these are yours, John.
So thank you. So the application, which consists of everything about 8 or 9 feet of that extension of being habitable space, is not even allowed by the variance. The whole idea was to get some of the stuff, Mr. Spitzer, is that his name? Yes. Spitzer.
Well, there's an R there.
He puts, there's stuff stored all outside, consistently stored outside. I mean, I just want to back up a little bit. I had a friend of ours was visiting. They live in England, but they have their summer house in Nantucket. And he was walking down Jennings and Hildreth, and he was saying, "Wow, you know, it's really nice. Everybody keeps their house so neat. What's the thing?" So there's garbage in the front. There's detritus all over the place constantly. And I thought at least if he was going to build a garage where you can put this room for your stuff, that's why I supported the application. But the site, the floor plans are in violation of the variance.
Well, thank you for telling us.
Okay, and I put that variance in the record. And, you know,
Jackie, I don't know if you have this in the file. Okay.
So even the ZBA specifically stated the benefits sought to be achieved by the applicant is being able to have the use of the garage for parking. A village space, a space in the village code is 18 by 10, it's got 9 feet there. So he's proposing to convert this garage area, they got a variance for, to habitable space. He hasn't even demonstrated that he can provide adequate street parking to comply with the code. The code provides that off-street parking spaces be a minimum width of 10 feet and 18 feet. I didn't even say where on the property he's doing this. He's essentially adding a bedroom, but even that, he's taking away from his existing parking.
So John, with all due respect, can we just try to stick with the architectural aspects of it? I understand that the history.
Okay, but it shouldn't be here, is what I'm saying.
I hear what you're saying.
Excuse me?
No disagreement.
No,
there.
it shouldn't even have gotten to that.
Right.
Okay. I don't see any gross floor area calculations, and you asked for that. Now, this is habitable, it's supposed to be garage. You get a credit for garage space that you don't get for habitable space. There's an area noted as a shed is proposed attached to the rear of the residence. Is that climate controlled space? Let me figure this, because if not, you have to be 5 feet apart from building to building. But then the pool is shown on the floor plans 3 feet from doors to the dining room and 1.4 feet from bedroom and kitchen. This is a courtyard. 116.15B requires that any interior court spaces be a minimum of 15 feet in width. This is not even 12 feet.
So should this even be before us at this point?
Why is it even before?
I don't know. So
let me. I want to finish, please.
I know, but let me.
I want to get this.
I know. No, I'm going to let you get it on the record, but I just want to insert that with Alex on board now, one of his duties, as I see it, is to take a more comprehensive view of applications as they are submitted. Yeah, as they're impacted by the various boards. So there'll be a bit of an ombudsman, if you will. Alex, if I'm overstating what I'm expecting from you in your new position, tell us now. But I mean, there's obviously a question that John raised as to whether or not we should be seeing this at all. And then there are multiple issues that have to do with either decisions that were made or decisions that will have to be made apparently by multiple boards. So, okay, John, you can continue.
This pool, the pool is nonsensical. The state building code requirements state that a continuous clear deck surround the entire pool perimeter of at least 5 feet. Now think about it. What do you walk out and go into the pool? I mean, it's literally absurd. And it goes back into that 15 feet courtyard requirement. Not only is that an aesthetic requirement, it's a firematics requirement. You can't be in between a courtyard trying to fight a fire or trying to get emergency vehicles in, or trying to get some sort of emergency access when you have less than 15 feet. God forbid there's a fire there, and not only do you have less than 15 feet, but he's stepping into a pool.
Okay,
So,
we get it.
Excuse me?
We get
No,
it.
I think Alex.
Who's saying that?
It's Mark.
Oh,
Mark,
Mark.
okay,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Paul.
Mark's remote tonight.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I think for a lot of reasons, this probably shouldn't be here. It needs to go back to the building department.
And planning.
And planning.
And zoning.
And I just want to make sure we have what was submitted tonight as part of the record, and I'm happy to take a look at that tomorrow to see what other boards may need to review this application.
And I think John's point is correct. They should be looking at, I think they should be looking at the GFA inclusive of the garage and see if it actually meets code. Because the garage is not a garage. It's not, it's 10 feet deep. It's not a garage. And there's no door on the plan from the garage to the interior space. Therefore, it's not a garage.
Also, the variance was granted for a garage.
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay, so we'll let John and Carol. So, good, you've got your points down. See, you're welcome to rebut, but what we're not going to do is we're not going to discuss the various zoning issues, okay? Because that's a much bigger kettle of fish.
Yeah, I just want to say they do have building permit. There's from April 16, 2021, here in the building permit, the replacement of 2 windows with 2 doors, add rear slider and change front door. I know the board don't want to look at it, but it is.
No, we actually, what we're saying here is we want to look at the entirety, we want to look at the entirety of the application.
I just want to say they do have.
Then they have approval to do just that.
But there's no architectural review of those windows.
No, they went to the building department and they told them that they can change, do this work, and they were given the permit.
Okay, and we'll see if that was, the appropriate action to be taken either by the building department.
But it happened.
It happened.
So the other things about the GFA, it is written on the site plan, I believe was submitted. And the older GFAs and the garage and they are within range. I know the only thing that I don't quite know, because the DBA was obtained by the homeowner, whether it's entirely for garage or whether they did something to it, I don't know. I'm going to investigate on that.
So in summary, there are a lot of things we don't know, each and every one of us. So we'll work on that. In the meantime, unless there's a public comment, I think we should adjourn.
Yes.
I would even suggest that until such time as we resolve some of these issues, I wouldn't spend a lot of time redoing plans. So let's come back next week. The board will, working with the building department and Alex, come to some understanding of what's I was going to say kosher or not, but okay.
In GFA, we're 300 square foot under. And then the swimming pool, we did repeatedly talk to Tim, and he said he would allow it.
Again, like I said, we know more that we don't know than we do know. So let's resolve that. Okay, so I move that we adjourn at the chair's request to basically investigate what's going on with the application, the application of the zoning code or rules and the building permits, and to see who has jurisdiction at this point. Is that fair?
I'll second all that.
whatever I said. Jackie, what did I say? All right. Too much. I've been told that before. So I have a second from John, all in favor?
Aye.
We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Maybe.
And if we have any, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. We'll leave it at that.
Mr. Chairman, I would just ask that any material that was shown tonight be presented to the building department to be added part of the record, physical and electronically, as well if possible.
Right, whatever Mr. Bennett provided to us, I gave to Jackie.
I just need Mr. Bennett to have the photographs. Oh. Sure, he has an extra copy.
Okay.
Oh, these?
Oh, these?
I did.
I do.
Oh, perfect. I'll just-
Well, I'll make sure you have them all. I'll just.
Okay, great. All right, thanks, Alex.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Here, John, just use these.
Mr. Bennett.
Those are both packets.
Oh, thank you, John. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, good night, Sumies. Oh, there's one more.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
have one
Yeah,
more.
exactly. Thank you for being patient.
Thank you.
Nice cake.
Okay.
That was close.
I didn't know who was here too. Okay,
Yeah, didn't wait
great.
all this time for nothing, right?
Okay, thank you, see you, thank you, Josh. Okay. Great. Good night, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry I was away.
Okay, and now, what you've been waiting for, driveway gates in non-historic district, 980 Meadow Lane Trust. Okay,
Also a new application. We received the affidavits and they are in order.
okay, and so tell us who you are, and who you represent, and where your firm is based.
Okay. My name's Ashley Wolf. I'm from Miranda Brooks Landscape Design. On behalf of the client, we're 980 Meadow Lane for our proposed entry.
It looks very nice.
Yes. it's
Thank
beautiful.
Particularly nice.
Thank you. It's really hard on me.
Okay, so for the record, Ashley.
Yes.
And Kat, you have the design, the elevation drawing.
There it is.
There you go.
Thank you. Mark, I'm
Thank
getting
you.
you.
All right,
I'm
so
getting you,
tell
Mark.
us,
Thank-
the material.
Oh, I don't have to do it. Thank you.
The general spacing, obviously, it looks very open.
Yep.
Wood to be
The rough
cedar.
dimensions, okay.
Yes. Wood to be painted dove white to match the trim of the house. And yeah, very wide openings. You know, we have, this is a foot and 8 inches, and we're at 50.47% transparent.
Isn't it interesting? It looks like it's more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we did so many calculations. It does look very open, and we just.
It's great.
It's
Yeah,
great.
it's beautiful.
It's great.
Instead of all the-
just-
instead of the pickets, we see
Yeah,
pickets all the
yeah.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And the dummy strap hinges are elegant.
Thank you.
right. So just one, so lights, no lights?
No.
Okay.
No.
Automatic mechanism,
Yes.
where?
That will be located just, at the appropriately positioned place
Okay,
for.
so
moving it out.
what the board over the last year or so has been asking for the mechanism not to be external, but to be either included in the column, but basically no gooseneck, no external. And I know some exist on there, but we're
Yeah.
trying to, so to the extent that the applicant can either put the mechanism on the column,
Mhm.
you're approved, you'll get a
Yeah.
vote. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
All right, so no, no external mechanism.
No.
And how far back is the gate from the street? Is it
18.
18 feet? Because that could be another solution. If
Yeah.
you move it back further,
Mhm.
the gooseneck wouldn't even necessarily be an issue depending on how,
That's true
but,
too.
there are two options there.
So if that's the case, no public comment, Kat?
No, sir.
So what I would do is I will move that we approve the application for 980 Meadow Lane Trust for driveway gates with the note that there will be no external automated, no keypad, gooseneck. Okay, and we'll note that on the application. Well, actually.
This is just a sample of the color.
Right. And I could write that in, Jackie. She doesn't have to write it in, right? Okay. I know what to do. Okay, do I have a second on that?
Second.
By John, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for sticking around.
Nice design. Thank you.
You're not going back to,
Appreciate
you're not going back to Brooklyn, are you?
Sorry?
It says Brooklyn,
Yeah.
that's where you're going?
You're driving back now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You won't be in traffic.
You are so positive.
Yeah,
Thank you.
All right, we'll get some coffee so you stay there.
Yeah.
Be
I
careful.
will.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye.
To end on a good design.
Okay, very,
Before we adjourn, Peter, Sarah, is there anything we want to mention about the forms that we're completing for certified local government?
Alex, let me get you right up back on the screen.
wait, I'm sorry, is that Mark or Alex?
Oh, sorry, that's me. It's Alex.
Oh,
Should be coming. There we go.
Your CLG reporting maybe?
yes.
All right, sorry about
Yeah,
that.
I just wanted to know if we wanted to mention that while we're gathered together.
Yes, well,
Remember, we're
completed-
still on Zoom.
I completed the CLG 2021 report.
And I completed the CLG 2020 report pending some of the numbers which Jackie has just given them to me. So that will be completed tomorrow.
And neither of us were on the board in 2018-19. So we don't know what happened.
Okay, so I was on the board.
Oh,
I know,
okay.
but it has to be done like tomorrow.
Yeah, okay,
We have a sample. It's not that hard.
Okay.
It's boilerplate.
yeah.
Okay, we'll send it to you. I have the template.
Well, is that what you sent to me in an email the other day or?
Maybe. I sent so many, I forget.
I
will send it fresh because who knows?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
able to get a copy of the one that Zach traditionally did it all by himself.
Okay.
And Zach was very kind about providing me with a copy that he had done.
Okay.
So there's a template,
Okay,
and and Jackie will provide him with the numbers for 2019.
I can do that.
Yeah, and I'll send you,
okay.
I'll send you
Okay.
the ones.
And I'm gonna be in the building department by around 11 o'clock. So if it's something that I need to sign or fill out right then and there.
Well, it's a template that you'll actually have to, to do.
Okay.
It's a 3-page thing.
Oh,
And you have to comment on, what was something that came up that was difficult. So you have to choose something from that era that you,
okay. that's easy.
one suggestion
That's
was Love Nest on
Yes.
Gin Lane.
Yes,
So,
okay. That's 24, 28.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
you could fill in that part on
Right.
that
Okay,
perhaps.
sounds good. Okay.
But
thank
we
you.
have to have it done in order to apply for this funding.
Okay.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
No problem.
does
And
take-
one of the questions on there is about training. And so just as a reminder that for 2022, we'll have to find some training for the board. I believe it's 4 hours.
Oh, training, yeah.
required.
Right.
So just something to put on your radar. So Jackie and I are going to probably have to develop a way to keep track of that for all the board members.
Okay.
So will suggestions be sent in our direction, or we should be doing this on our own to research that training?
My goal is anytime I receive notice of training is to let all board members know if it's something that piques
Got
their
it, perfect.
interest, works timing wise.
Okay, perfect, great.
And there's a wonderful organization, which I keep referring to, called the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions, and they provide for $15, and I think we could get one for our whole board. They provide Zoom trainings that are really good.
Good.
Mark, are you trying to show us something? I'm sorry, I couldn't see.
I'm just trying to remind us we're all still on Zoom.
I
Yes.
think that's okay. I don't think
Yes.
there's anything that's confidential.
Yes.
Okay, so if there are no further comments or business to take care of, then I will move that we close this meeting of the Architectural Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation. It's now about what? I can't read the time.
10.
10 o'clock.
record.
Yeah.
5 to 10.
Early.
Just
Early.
9:55.
9:55. Have a second on that?
Second.
Oh,
Second, John? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.